Hey everybody, Jason here. I'm out in Santiago de Queretaro, Mexico, and I want to talk to you about getting scammed here. Okay, so before arriving to Mexico and then while here, I heard about a lot of different types of scams. My first experience was actually my taxi ride from the airport to my place, and you know, I question whether or not it was a scam or if he was trying to scam me. There was a huge language barrier, of course, but what I believe was happening was my taxi driver was telling me that he couldn't take me all the way to my accommodation. I'm pretty sure he said that the street was a one-way street even, and yeah, basically I kept telling him no, and I ended up making all the way to where I was going. So that was my first experience. So one of my next experiences, and this was kind of, I want to say common, but I don't know, common, but it happened a few times, was people inviting me, locals, inviting me out with the invitation of that they would show me town and help me, you know, learn about town and help me with my Spanish. And I went out a couple times and quickly learned that all they were really interested in was my wallet and having me pay for everything while out. And this is one that it's hard to say is a scam or not, but it was interesting. So another scam that I don't think I've experienced, I've heard about, a friend of mine has witnessed, is eating out at a restaurant and being overcharged for things or charged for things that you didn't get. So I've been warned to double check what I get charged for. The next one that I've heard of but haven't experienced personally is I've heard of people arranging accommodation somewhere, actually in sites like Airbnb, and then showing up and the place is nothing like the photos, or there's no place at all. I haven't heard of that happening a lot, but I've heard about it. So yeah, there are scams going on here. There's no question. So one of the most common scams is something called a Gringo Tax. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna partner up with a fellow YouTuber from here in Querétaro. And now she's one of my favorite YouTubers from the area. She's a local, and together we're gonna go explore this idea of a Gringo Tax. So first, I'm gonna go sit down with La Karencita. I had heard of this term, but I'm not entirely, you know, I'm not a local. It's not something we say in Canada. I don't even know if there's something similar in Canada that could be applied to other foreigners, but okay, so what's a Gringo Tax?
Okay, Gringo Tax is when locals charge more money to foreigners for their products or services, much more than locals, than Mexicans, just because they are foreigners. Right. That's it. And it usually happens when you go to the market, you buy from a street vendor or a taxi driver. When you don't see the prices, they take a look at you and they say, oh, this is a foreigner.
Right.
Or maybe they notice it because your Spanish is not like perfect, like a native.
So what do you think? Like, so we're gonna test it. We're gonna go and buy some things.
We're gonna buy, maybe we're going to the market. We're going to ask a taxi driver to go to a specific place, the same place. Obviously, we're gonna be no, we won't be together.
Right.
And at the end of the video, we'll see who paid more.
Who paid more? Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it, right?
Do you want to say, like, what are your thoughts right now?
About.
Yeah. Do you think that it'll end up that I pay more?
Okay. I think. I don't know. I think you're gonna pay more.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are you going to talk in Spanish or mix?
Well, yeah, mix, because I can't just speak Spanish. I'm just learning. So, but I'll use as much Spanish as I can, but it'll be clear that I'm a foreigner.
Okay, that's a good point to consider.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this experiment is going to be great.
Yeah, hablo un poco español.
Perfecto.
Yeah. Okay, so Karen and I have spent the last couple of days filming, and to be honest, it's felt kind of weird, like we were doing something wrong. We don't mean any disrespect of testing the locals. We did make a few purchases to try to make it right, but anyhow, the research is done. I'm heading back. We're gonna sit down again and we're gonna talk about our results. So we're back. So that was an interesting experiment, wasn't it?
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
And very fun as well.
Yeah.
I was very nervous.
Yeah, me too. And so for me it was more challenging because of the language, and we didn't realize this until you started to go over some of the footage and you realized that some of the numbers that I gave, or at least one number, was not entirely correct. But we'll get to that in a moment. So, yeah, so what did we do? First we went out and we did the taxi first, right?
We got a taxi. We asked for to take us to the airport, which is 1 hour away, more or less, from the center. We're living in the central Querétaro.
Yep.
And we thought that would be a good idea because that could mean that both of us are living Querétaro. We can be tourists in Querétaro, so that would be a good way for them to charge us more money.
Yeah. So you went first, and how did it go for you?
Very simple. I wasn't scared or anything because it was. He didn't even tell that you were recording from far away, from the distance, and he said 400 pesos.
400 pesos. Okay, and then I went to the other side of the park, basically. It took me longer to get a taxi, but then I got one, and I was quoted 450 pesos.
So yeah, I think you mentioned it. It can be just because it was another taxi,
right?
Or maybe he was kind of charging you a little bit more.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's hard to know, right? Two different taxi drivers. They're not using a computer to figure out what the price will be. They're just estimating what the cost will be. So it's easy enough to be out 50 pesos.
Yeah, and also 50 pesos can mean a lot here in Mexico. It can mean that you can have your lunch, you can pay for your transport if you're working. I don't know, it can mean a good amount of money. Yeah,
so hard to know whether it was a Gringo tax or not, but there was a price difference for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so after that, what did we do?
Lele doll.
Lele doll, yeah.
Yeah, which is a craft in Querétaro. It's everywhere. If you come here, you'll see it everywhere. It's like the character of this city.
And I thought that it would definitely be a different price, just because the vendor, there's no price tag on anything. He can make the price whatever he wants. And they are focused on selling to tourists as well. They can move from place to place, so he could charge me 200 pesos on one street and then go to another street to sell them and charge 50 pesos.
Yeah.
And likely you wouldn't even realize it was the same guy, right? Yeah, so I went first, and now I didn't realize it at the time, but you've looked at the footage since then. And so tell me what you found.
I think you bargained without even realizing. Because you asked for the price of a medium-sized Lele doll, and he said 70 pesos. And you said you were asking if, I think you didn't hear very well, you were like doubting, and you said 60, because the difference between 60 and 70 in Spanish is very minimum.
Yeah.
So he said 70, 60. So he said, okay, for you 60, for
Right.
you 60 pesos. And yeah, you bargained.
I
basically.
bargained without knowing. so this is funny, and again, it creates this variable that we don't know. But my original price was 70 pesos, and I bargained. So let's just use the original price.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Because other interesting fact is that he didn't tell me 70.
Right.
He told me right away 60 pesos.
Right.
So I could have bargained actually, and maybe he could have told me 50.
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah, and so to be clear, Karen was quoted 60, right, from
yeah,
the back.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so 10 pesos difference.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, possibly a gringo tax. Then we went to the market, didn't we? We went and we bought tomatoes, we bought guavas, and oats. Yeah. So let's see if I can remember. I bought 3 tomatoes, and now the price on the scale is what's more important. So on the scale, it was 20 pesos per kilogram for my 3 tomatoes. And when you went the next day, how much did you pay?
It was the same, 20 pesos per kilogram.
Yeah, so the same for the tomatoes. We went to the same vendor each time, but just on different days. So then I went in, to a different vendor for the guavas, and there wasn't a price on the scale, but I bought 3 guavas and I paid 12 pesos.
So I paid 12 pesos as well.
Yeah.
For 3 guavas. I asked for the price per kilo, but you didn't ask, so we don't have like that price to compare. But it was the same at the end.
Yeah.
Just the only difference is that I got 1 free mango.
Yeah.
So, and that happens when you usually buy to the same vendor. So probably that was, but you also buy it there, right?
Yeah, I do, but I've only been here for a couple months, so I can see a little bit more customer loyalty to you, because it's been much longer for you buying.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a gringo tax so much. I think it's more just a nice gift that you got. Yeah.
For being Mexican.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the oats. The oats were 15 pesos for half a kilo.
And I went to the same place the next day and I paid 15 pesos as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So no gringo tax on
no
the oats.
gringo tax.
Yeah. Actually, it seems like no gringo tax on anything from the market.
No, not really.
Except Mexicans might get free mangoes.
The only difference,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It was, I wonder if maybe if we went to the other market, the price would be different.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, right? Like, this is just a small test to see how things are in this instance, but it could be different at different markets. Right?
And I can tell that prices can be different. We know that, well, a lot of people know that that market is more expensive than this market overall for
Yeah.
Mexican and foreigners. So yeah, there's a point there. We don't know really.
Yeah, yeah. But just as a study, this one, it seems like no gringo tax at this market. So the last thing was the rent. So we found an apartment to rent, and it was just the phone number. So we both sent a message, which was in Spanish and very fast, and I didn't understand. So Karen listened to it. And so how much was I going to be charged for rent?
She said 8,500.
So then when you spoke to her, what did she tell you?
She said the same actually.
The same.
The same 8,500 pesos, which I mean, I'm surprised not because she gave us the same price, but just as I said, it's a good price for the area.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised that we got the same price, because I also said in my message that I just arrived from Canada and looking for a place. I think I said for 6 months. So I thought that I would be charged more just because of that, but no.
No, it didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I need to look at this about the math. So I did some math here, and because the rent is such a large number, I'm excluding that. It was the same. So we're just looking at the kind of, would you call it like a commercial purchases or something like that? And the totals ended up being that I would have paid about 10% more than Karen.
Wow.
So that's for mainly the taxi and the Lele doll.
Uh-huh.
So.
Wow. Yeah, you're paying, well, in this experiment, definitely you would have paid a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wonder if in your normal activities you're paying more just because you're living here, and you don't tell, of course.
Right. Yeah. You know, because this is just one day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I wonder if I pay 10% more every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's our conclusion. So it does seem that there is a Gringo tax here in Querétaro, which I thought that there would be. And I also, I don't know if I mentioned this before, I know some people are against it. And I don't think it's entirely right, because you could be a foreigner living here working a Mexican job, and so the color of my skin might give me a higher price, but my income might be the same as a Mexican income. The only thing is, I also see that, like in business, it's kind of normal to try to make as much money as you can in any country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, not only in Mexico.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely against it. I don't necessarily like it.
No.
But yeah, I can't do anything about it either.
It's so interesting, and I think that is happening when you go to very touristy places or cities.
Right.
Some people are trying to, as you said, to get more, and I'm not complaining, as you said, because, as you said, everybody would do the same. But it's not nice when you know that they are doing that to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And the other thing I wonder, doing this experiment, is like this is the result here in Querétaro in just a short test, and I wonder if there's more of a Gringo tax in other areas. You know, if you went to Cancun, like super touristy area, if there would be a much higher Gringo tax there, or even some of the smaller tourist areas.
Yeah, I think that doing that experiment there would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Not only just because you're a foreigner, but overall Mexican tourists, when they go to another very popular, very touristy city, I can believe that happens to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So if you have experience with the Gringo tax, leave it in the comments so that we know, especially if it's in different areas of the country. It'd be good to know, you know, avoid Monterrey because it's a 40% Gringo tax or something, right?
Yeah.
So share your experience.
Yeah, share your experience below.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it really. Before we go, I do just want to say that Karen was one of the channels that I watched before coming here. So I definitely would recommend you check out her channel. Lots of really good stuff. And also thanks for doing this video with me. This has been good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
We were very nervous, but we did it.
Yeah.
So give it a like. Leave a comment or something.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Okay. Thanks for watching.
Adios.